One thing I value about a lot of our builder clients is the fact that they value personal development, improving themselves for, not just on a personal level, but on a business level as well.
Yeah, and so today, I know we're really excited to bring this topic, which is 3 books that not only we've read and seen the direct impact it's had on this business, but our builders who we either recommend it to, or some of them have read these books before us, and they've also made the same comment that it has had a huge impact on their business.
Yeah, and not just them saying that, like we can actually see it.
Yeah.
Because we're in the background, we're seeing what's happening.
Yeah.
Obviously we're helping them with their marketing, but that's just one aspect of running a business, right?
Yeah.
And so let's jump in. What's the first book?
First book is Kurt Heggetweiler's $1 Million Builder.
Oh, that's an awesome book.
So this one is a fantastic book, and it's probably one of the most popular or most common books that we hear coming up, especially
for builders.
For builders, and it's crazy to see the difference, because this talks about just the fundamentals, and I can just jump straight into it. But the fundamentals of running a good, not just good business, because there's lots of business books out there, but a good building business.
Yeah, and it covers like all the fundamentals. So things like finance, your sales, your marketing, other things you need to do in terms of decisions you have to make as a builder. I mean, there's so many things you have to think about as a builder. Yeah. So that's what I love about this. Like, he really talks about mastering business fundamentals, getting the foundation right.
I mean, he's big on, and we've seen the impact it's had on our builders, big on systems and processes. Yeah. A lot of guys coming from a trade background, it's simple when you just say doing a certain set number of tasks. Yeah. When you add running a business to that, it's a whole nother ball game. Yeah. And there's a huge shift we see in guys that really start to comprehend that there is a difference. Running a business is a whole another thing. Yeah. Unfortunately, and it's just based on feedback, you and I have not gone and done our builder's license, but feedback is a lot of the route the guys take for that does not give them enough of the fundamentals to run a successful, good business.
Yeah, and like streamlining, like just on this topic of streamlining and processes, I think that's super important, because it really, if you have those things in place, it ensures like consistency and quality of work. And that's what Kurt talks about in this book. And that if you get that right, that leads to obviously your clients being satisfied with what you do, which is a massive one, which then leads to like repeat business and just, better project outcomes as a whole. And also I think from a business point of view, it gives you more time. And I think this is something that a lot of businesses and business owners struggle with. I know I do, that there's so many different things happening in our minds every single day that if you can streamline a lot of those things, it gives you back mental cognition, which means you can make better decisions, you can stay more calm, and anxiety doesn't run your life. Yeah.
The third one will be cultivating a winning team.
Yeah.
That's a massive one that I think a lot of guys don't fully comprehend.
Yeah.
And looking also, in the book he talks about team being the guys that you employ, who wear your branding and all that, but also looking at it beyond that. He's going, well, you get to choose, and having that mind, again, come back to the mindset, you get to choose who your trades are. And how do you go about creating a culture? Yeah. And this came up in the mastermind last week. Yeah. How can you manufacture the right culture, not only within your business, but that next layer out? Yeah. So in terms of your contractors and your subbies and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and I think one thing that Kurt talks about on this note is whenever you're looking at hiring, creating a culture, you have to have like this like principle in mind always, and that is long term. Yeah. Okay, so it's not just about like how do I do it for today? Like how do I just put out this fire today? Yeah. It's about like looking at 2 years from now, like starting to think like that. Hiring, like if you're sitting in front of someone, potentially like a new supervisor that might join the team or whatever, think for yourself like, 2 years from now. So just long term, because that'll create such a big difference in your business. Things like better projects, again, brings back mental cognition for you. Yeah. So you can work on the business.
Definitely. Yeah. And I think when you start creating the right team, it's going to help give more time and back that mental cognition, because now you've got a great team who you can rely on. Yeah. You're not having to try and do all the thinking yourself.
So I think this is a great opportunity to go to the next book.
Yes. What's the next book?
Is The Who, Not the How, by Dan Sullivan. So this one is massive. So, I mean, we're talking about team with Kurt's book. This one's big. So we've got 3 takeaways for this one. The first one being leverage the right people. Okay, so this is a concept of focusing on the who rather than how to do something. Yeah. A great example for this is like I get a lot of ideas in our business. Like I'm like, oh, this is a great idea. And straight away, normal, like this is just human, like what you're used to, you go, how am I going to do this?
Yeah.
You know, you start processing it out and all that, instead of going, who is going to do this? Who is going to take ownership of this? Who's going to take responsibility?
And I know I've just started reading this book and I'm loving it so far. But in terms of a big thing that people, I think he mentions there, the challenge they have is goals. People that don't set goals big enough because their mind goes straight to the how. And I don't know how to do that. Therefore, it's impossible.
Yeah.
Whereas they've got to start shifting to who.
And I mean, if you look at builders, right, builders do this really well. So if you're a builder and you've got a lot of subcontractors, chances are that you already adopt this mindset of the who, not the how.
Yeah.
So especially because you're project managing, you're going like, who's going to do the tiling? Who's going to do the plumbing? Like, I'm not going to do it. I've got to project manage this whole thing. I've got to make sure that this project, the outcome is amazing. Okay. So, but the question I want to ask builders, if you're listening to this, is where else can I apply this philosophy of the who, not the how? And I know Kurt, in the first book we just spoke about, he mentions things like, you know, finance. Who's going to do my bookkeeping? Who's going to do my accounting? Who's going to help me with my marketing? You know, who can take care of that? Who can be, you know, just have that in place.
Yeah. And one thing that, I mean, as I'm going through this book, it just amazes me as I'm going through it, how much my awareness and brain's growing in terms of, wow, this concept is like, when someone goes, who, not the how, you go, oh yeah, I understand that. Cool, no worries. You know, I need to mow my lawn. I'll just get someone to do it. We think about it in such a small, finite way. Yeah. But the way he starts to explain, he goes, no, everything.
Yeah, and this is something we're talking about right now. Like we've been talking about it the last year. We're like, how about we get someone that can take care of all that stuff for us? What else can we then do in our business and in our family lives? I know with kids now, you've got 2 now, I've got 1, like a 1-year-old. Like time is just gone all of a sudden. I remember like people would tell me like that have kids, they've got like, oh, I've got no time. And I always look at them and I'm like, man, just come on, man. Just
stop making excuses.
Stop making excuses. But now I'm like, oh my goodness, there is really no time. So yeah, like looking for areas in your personal life as well, like getting the who, not the how. Especially with things that come up every single day.
What's another point that
takeaway from this book that they talk about in the book? And when I say they, is like Dan Sullivan is like the founder of Strategic Coach. Yeah. And Dr. Benjamin Hardy is the person that wrote it. So Dan Sullivan has like, I need to get this message in front of people, the who, not the how. Who am I going to get to do that? So he didn't go write it. He didn't think, how am I going to write this? He just went, who am I going to get? So he got Dr. Benjamin Hardy, and obviously they went through staff research, all that like stuff together, so that it's Dan's voice. But Dan didn't even write it, so he lives by what he does. So, but yeah, the second thing that he talks about is build strategic partnerships. Yeah. So this one's huge. If you're just in business and you just go at it alone, and you just try and solve every problem by yourself, you know, you can only get that far. You'll probably hit a plateau. And I know that's where a lot of builders are at. Like when they come to us, they're like, man, I've hit a plateau. So yeah, like some things builders can do here is like join like a mastermind community, you know, networking, things like that.
Yeah, the community is a massive one. And I think that's another way that in the book, Dan talks about the who, not the how. Again, you know, like, and sometimes you have these problems you don't even realize you're having. It's because you think it's just standard. It's just a how. That is how I do it. I will always do it like that, and I will slowly improve. But putting yourself in a community of other like-minded, let's say builders, who want to grow, who want to do better, you start to hear ideas and like in the mastermind last week, hearing some of the guys go, oh, well, this is how we do this, and then hearing other ideas. Like each of those guys, because they're high achievers, they've given time and effort to specific things in their business that they are now lethal at. And so to hear that being shared, and some of the guys, you could see this light bulb moment being like, oh man, I didn't even realize that was a problem, or I didn't realize that was something I could improve. And now the who, another builder who's gone on to achieve greater things in that space, I've just learned from.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's like concepts like that. Like, I didn't even realize that was something I could get a who to make better.
Yeah. So I mean, a great example, I know a lot of builders want to do their own developments and stuff. Yeah. So they'll probably ask themselves like, how do I do it?
I need money.
How do I do it?
Yeah. How do I get more money?
How do I do it? Like process it out, like, but instead going like, okay, actually who's done it? Yeah. Let's go learn from them. Like that's just a great example of this, the who, not the how in that kind of thing.
But the community is big as well, one mastermind, but the workshops, we've got one coming up in Sydney.
Yep. And Auckland.
In Auckland as well. Yeah. So
check the show notes for a link.
Show notes for those. But those are good. I've seen guys come to some of those workshops, and then they'll come to the next one either in a different state or different place, or a year later they come to that same one again, like Melbourne, and then a year later Melbourne. And to hear what they took away from the previous one and what they implemented because of the who, and some of these ones are developments. And that's a big question, is like, well, how do I get money? How do I get the finance? The bank won't give it to me. And that's where it stops. I can't get it. So done. Yeah. And then some of these guys were like, well, I just started talking to people about it. Yeah. And one guy in particular comes to mind. Within 3 months, he had 2 investors who already knew him. He already had a relationship with him. So the who was already there. He just didn't know.
Yeah, because you're focusing on the how.
Yeah.
Like if you're looking down, you can't look up.
Yeah.
And if you look left, you can't look right. So what do you focus on? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just like, that's a great example of just how that rolls out.
Yeah, and I think like the third takeaway for this book, to like close this book off, is embrace a growth mindset. You know, so adopting a mindset that is focused on growth and learning. That's why we're talking about books. So picking up these books and actually learn. And that is where builders can like look for new opportunities. I know this happens to me. Like if I'm listening or if I'm reading a book, they might be talking about something, but then for some reason, some sort of idea pops into my head. It's not even related to the book, but it's just because I'm going through the motion of going through that book. And then, you know how it goes. I normally call you up and then we talk about it, and we're like, man, is this good or bad? Yeah. If it's good, let's roll this out. So like new opportunities always comes out if you're putting yourself in a situation to like read books. So that's what Dan Sullivan talks about as well. It's like embracing a growth mindset.
I know, different book, but Principles by Ray Dalio talks about that radical open-mindedness.
Yeah. Oh, this is like a bonus book, eh?
Yeah. But just having that
this
growth
is not
mindset.
The third book.
A growth mindset of being open to when new information comes.
Yeah.
And you go, okay. And I know we always talk to our builders about this, understanding false beliefs. And in their buyers, you know, potential clients, what are the false beliefs that people have? You've got to break that down so they can see things bigger and better. Yeah. Let's jump into...
Yeah, what's book 3?
Book 3.
Okay, so I called JP this morning about this podcast, and then asked him if he's got the book.
Yeah,
and he's already left. Yeah, so it's at home. So we did this
with lots of notes in it.
All right, what is it?
So this is the third book looking at, Influenced by Robert Cialdini. A phenomenal
This one's
book.
a great book.
I know a lot of us in this team have read it more than once.
Yeah,
Andre
it's a tough book. It's long. Like it's a pretty big book, and if you're a builder and you don't have much time, like definitely go through books 1 and 2 first, and then if you want to go like next level, you know, go book 3, which is Influence.
Again, time, who not how. So the how would be I've got to sit and read this book. The who would be audible. Yeah. While you're driving, listen to it. Yeah. That's how I consumed it, and it because it flows and there's less interruption because you can. Anyways, it painted some amazing imagery and situations, and you can apply it while you're listening to it. Yeah. But the reason why I know you and I were chatting this morning about this book and why we think it's relevant is because when we look at our top builders, the guys that are really achieving well, and they've achieved that 8%,
like they've got the fundamentals, like what Kurt talks about. Yeah.
But then it's that next level that they go to, and it's their ability to comprehend and understand the psychology behind things and what influences. Yeah. It's just funny the name of the book's called Influence, but what influences the person in front of me's decisions. Yeah.
And that includes
and
team.
how they're influencing me as well.
Yeah, that includes like team, prospective clients that you're building for. Yeah. So this one's massive. And we spoke about it. So if you do like book 1 and 2 is like the 80-20 rule. So it's a 20% you put in and you'll get 80% of results from those books because it's the fundamentals and all that kind of stuff. And this book, the Influence book, is for builders that are now going to put in the other 80% to get the rest, the 20%, which is really awesome. And I mean, the first takeaway for me is like, obviously he talks about the 6 principles of persuasion. Yeah. So he's got 6, I'll just quickly read it out. First one's reciprocity. Second one's commitment. Third one, commitment and consistency. Third one, social proof. 4th, authority. 5th, liking. And 6th, scarcity. So if you're a builder and you're going through this, you know, as he talks about these 6 principles of persuasion, think about that in your own business. Like scarcity, for example. Automatically, builders can create scarcity because you can only build X amount of projects each year. Yeah. But how do you communicate that? Yeah. Do you communicate it in a way that, hey, I'm wide open, come to me anytime?
I'm needy or...
needy. Or is it a fact of like, you know, builders can literally just be honest about this. I'm booked out for the next year. You can get in line. Like I can build for you next year. Okay. And you need to commit in form of a deposit or something. And then you're in line. So creating that scarcity. So that's just like one really cool, principle. Yeah.
Yeah, it is amazing because a lot of guys will talk to, you know, with, let's say, not a growth mindset and definitely haven't consumed stuff like this.
Yeah.
They really feel like things are happening to them. And once you can get a growth mindset, understand some of these, you know, grow your own mindset, consume something like influence, you realize
how much you can control.
Yeah, like how much I can control of the outcomes of actions and decisions I make, because now I understand how everything is influencing me. So now I can choose how I want it to influence me and the outcome that I want, or how do I influence that person's decision in front of me? And this is where it's going to you got to understand you need to be ethical. It's very, very important.
Massive.
Because you can take this and use it unethically. So that would be coming back to clarity on who are you, who do you want to help, so that when that person is in front of you and you know you can help them and you know that they're a great fit, well, then you really should be and ought to be, and you're almost obligated to then do all you can to influence their decision so that you become their builder of choice.
Yeah. And the last takeaway for Influence book for me is around building trusting relationships. So if you use these principles that Cialdini talks about, it really, you know, helps builders establish that trust and rapport. When you're about to build someone's dream home, you know, it's a very long process. So trust and rapport is really important. And that leads to like communication. So every time we talk to builders, every workshop we're at, the mastermind, you know, that we run with our some of our builder clients, the one word that always comes out is like communication and how important communication is.
Always.
And this really helps you put a framework around your communication and what you need to communicate to accomplish some of those principles, whether it's, you know, authority, liking, you know, scarcity, all those kind of things. So this will really, I think builders that use the principles from Cialdini will really go to that next level, especially with their communication.
And they'll feel way more in control. But the trust is huge. I know a lot of the builders listening to this will definitely understand that, because that'll be, I would say that comes up in every conversation I have with every builder, is especially when when I say that, I mean builders who are not yet on board with us. And I'm talking to them going, well, why did you reach out, and what is the big problem that you're trying to solve here? A lot of the time it is
people don't trust them.
People don't trust me. I'm trying to establish more trust so that decision for them is easier.
Which makes sense, right? If you walk up to someone in the street that you don't know, like, do you trust that person? Or do you have to actually go through, you've got to start building a relationship, build that trust before you trust them to make to do something for you or whatever?
Because it's not like I'm buying $100 pair of shoes where I don't need to trust you at all. Because I can buy, if I don't like it, I send it back. You know? Whereas this is 200,000, $500,000, $1 million, 10 mil. And we're going to be working together for a long time.
It's funny. So when Andre was studying, he was doing his Bachelor of Marketing back in, I would want to say 2009, just before we started Biz Video. And he brought this book to me. He's like, this is what we're actually studying in university. And that was really cool. And then when we started Biz Video, I did read it, but I almost like forgot everything. And I'm so glad I went through it again, like recently. We adopt a lot of these principles for our clients. So when our clients come to us and we create their stories and their marketing, we always have these principles in mind to help them build that trust with people that don't know them yet on a digital realm. So before they even come to the builder. But I think this book is really important for builders to read so that when prospective clients come to them, they are armed with these things. I think definitely if you can read it, and even if all you did was read it and it was just in your brain, it would influence the way you talk, if nothing else, and that would have a direct impact on better clients, better culture, better business, better growth. And you'll probably like notice where can you put some of these principles into your systems and processes. So when a new prospective client comes to you, you send out a particular email or you have a particular phone call, and what is the content of that phone call or that email, and what does it have to achieve, you know, so to build that trust and stuff. So there's going to be things that you can build into your process, which is awesome. So those are the 3 books. I think just before we finish this one, you know, if builders are listening to this and you have books that you love, like I would love to hear from you. Like put in the comments below.
Yeah. Well, I would actually love if first person to call me, I will mail you a book of your choice.
No, out of these three.
Out of these three.
Yeah. Okay. Done.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
There you go.
Yeah. So just find JP's info somewhere. We're not going to put it down here.
No. Otherwise, in the go to the website, just click a link, book a meeting with me, and then just say, hey, where's my book? Yeah, and I'll send it to you.
It's a good idea. Awesome. Thanks for the conversation, mate.
Thank you, Connor. Cheers.